I remember in 2013, just to give you this number, 2012, 2013, we had 10,000 people coming in Greece in a year. In 2014, we had 10,000 people per day. I don't think anywhere in the world, everywhere in history of the world, there were so many people coming on a daily basis. So it was cheaper, easier, and especially when there were so many numbers coming. As I said, 10,000 people a day. Picture that. Lesbos Island, Limnos, and all these islands that they were really accepting all these inflows, because I was there. I was there, literally, seeing the people coming. What to do? To register them? No way. To screen them? No way. How can you do that? 10,000 people, because the 10,000 came today and 10,000 will come tomorrow again. So there was a mess.
Greece is an outward-looking country that relies heavily on international tourism and immigrant labor, but it also upholds some of the EU's most restrictive migration policies. What insights can we gain from someone who spent 30 years navigating these contradictions from behind the scenes? In this interview, I am joined by Daniel Esdras, former Chief of Mission of the International Organization for Migration in Greece from 1987 to 2017, and caretaker Minister of Migration and Asylum in June 2023.
Indeed.
A cornerstone figure in Southeastern Europe's migration landscape, Mr. Esdras brings a rare dual perspective as a veteran practitioner in international migration governance and as policymaker navigating high-stakes decisions in the heart of government. Together, we unpack the transformation of migration to Greece from the 1990s Albanian influx to the post-2010 refugee crisis. We explore how international organizations like IOM work with migrants and national authorities, how informal labor sustains the economy despite political resistance, and what regularization policies have achieved and where they have failed. So, Mr. Esdras, thank you very much for taking part in this interview. Let's begin by asking, how did you get interested in migration, and how did you join the IOM?
Yeah, I was actually I was looking for a job in international relations, and actually my latest major was in international relations, and I wanted to join the UN organization, but migration was one of the really key elements. So when it was an opening in the local office in Athens, I applied. I was a little bit overqualified, but nevertheless, I was, I was hired there. Then, because I'm an ambitious person, so I decided then I have to, if I want to pursue a career, I have to go outside, abroad. So then I left I left Greece, and I joined IOM in other places, like from South Africa to former Yugoslavia, from Yugoslavia to Chechnya, from Chechnya to Kosovo, in all these difficult situations. And that gave me a very big experience in how to handle emergency situations, which at the time being in Greece after 2000 that I came back, it wasn't so needy, but it became very needy after some years when we had this mass influx from the east of refugees. Mainly Syria, but also, you know what? I mean, Greece was a migration country from all aspects. I mean, during the 50s, Greeks were going abroad. So there was migration abroad. And I remember at that time, it was called ICM, actually assisted them in going to overseas countries, mainly Australia, US, Canada, etc. Then Greece became a transit country. Transit in a sense that people mainly from Eastern Europe were coming to Greece, but the final goal was to go to overseas countries again, And that's why they were passing from Greece. and staying a little bit until they get their papers. And then again, I am working with the countries of the receiving countries like US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, assisted them to go there. And then to finally go to the last chapter, when mainly from the in the beginning, from the neighborhood countries like Albania and also other Balkan countries were coming to Greece to get a job. Plus all the, let's say, the remaining former refugees that they were in Greece, like people from Ethiopia, from Eritrea, that they were not considered refugees anymore, but they were still here. Also, Iranians and Kurds, a lot of Kurds. So it's the first mixture of refugees and migrants establishing their life in Greece in the beginning without any papers, undocumented migrants. Apart from the ones that they had asylum, which they were very few, because at those years, Greece was really giving the asylum to very few numbers. It was very difficult to get asylum. There were others that they were staying in Greece on tolerance, waiting for any amnesty law. And indeed, there were some amnesty laws during the 90s that they knew that there were all these people here working anyway in the black market. So it was decided also for them and for the children that they can go to school because they couldn't go without papers, though there was an exception for elementary school and that they will accept children even without papers, without legal papers. So there were 2 or 3 amnesties, I guess.
Yeah, but so this is a broad overview of your career at IOM that you have just given now. But just to come back, when you decided to apply at IOM, you wanted
in the beginning, you mean?
At the very beginning, what drove you into IOM, specifically in migration questions?
Well, as I said,
is it a personal background or is it what was going on at that
actually,
time?
I was always very sensitive in situations like of people that they were, let's say, minorities or the vulnerable cases that they were in a state that they couldn't really, especially the illegal migrants, as we said, the undocumented migrants. So yes, it was also a personal thing to get involved with that. And that's why I was most interested to work in IOM than UNHCR, for example, because UNHCR is a very strict thing, Article 1, Geneva Convention, who is a refugee, blah, 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 these things. These poor fellows, they were not really refugees.
Yeah.
They were really people in need, of course, but still they couldn't get any documentation for, anyway, there was no program of legal migration at that time. I usually say, it was our motto when I was in IOM. Migration is not a problem. Migration, it's a reality that needs management. That's the point. And the management should be managed by the states, receiving and the states that are outcoming states. Which means that right now, unfortunately, really, it's not in the hands of the states. It's in the hands of the smugglers, the traffickers, and all these people that are making money from these unfortunate people. And that's one of the reasons that, especially in the very old days, during the late 80s, when I joined IOM, because I spent all my life in IOM, 35 years of working, it was really a very difficult situation with these poor people. That's why we're always pushing the government to do whatever they can do with the amnesty laws, with all these things, so they can get a perspective, a future, let's say.
And so you joined IOM in the 1980s,
Late 80s.
late
yes.
80s, and which long-term shifts have you observed in the patterns and drivers of migration to Greece and Southeastern Europe? That is, from the Albanian crisis in the early 90s to the post-2010s migration
As
crisis.
I said, when I joined, it was already, there was in the phase of transit, mainly transit in Greece and go somewhere else.
Okay.
Then, as you said, we started having the inflows from the neighboring countries, not only Albania, but also other Balkan countries.
With the end of the Cold War.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There were a lot of, there's a big Polish, for example, community in Greece. There's also people coming from, still, from Georgia, from Moldavia, Ukraine, before the war, I mean, right? Not now, but even before the war. After the Soviet Union collapsed, then yes, there were a lot of, and at that time, they were not recognized as refugees, you understand, because with the Iron Curtain and everything, they could get a refugee status, but then, no. So then, even the transit program that was already in Greece stopped because all these Eastern European citizens couldn't apply anymore for Canada, Australia, and US. So then they had to stay here or go somewhere else in Europe, which was not easy. It was very difficult in those times, especially without documents, when they were undocumented. Only by smuggling, which was again was difficult and expensive. But the biggest influx was when we started having people from the east. First with the Kurdish population, then after the Iran-Iraq war, and then after 2000, it was the Pakistanis and the Indians and Chinese and all this from this part of the world.
So the pattern has been of rising at least migration pressure from the east. But you say that the beginning of your tenure at IOM, Greece was a transit country.
Yes.
Did it change toward the end of your tenure? Was Greece increasingly a destination country?
100%. After 2000, it was 100% destination country.
Destination country.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Because it was very difficult to go to, I mean, not that they want to stay in Greece, for example, but then again, let's not forget that after 2000, Greece became an attractive, because of the Olympics, because of all these things, it was very attractive to come here because there were a lot of jobs. There were a lot of, creating, jobs that they're not necessarily official jobs, but it doesn't matter. There was money coming, And yes, it was a good period from 2000 until 2010, 11. Then Greece faced the economic crisis, as you probably know, and that changed things. Changed things in the sense that there were not really many jobs, there were not money, and people that they could pay even in the black market, they couldn't pay anymore. So it was, it changed completely the picture.
After 2010, approximately.
Right. And especially.
So you think that, I am thinking about that now as
Yes.
I hear you, that there was the migration crisis of 2015, 2016, in which hundreds of thousands of migrants transited to Greece towards Germany mostly.
That's another, no, this is another chapter.
I know. But do you think that...
When I'm saying 2010, has nothing to do with 2014.
I know.
For years, it was a completely different picture.
Okay, you would not say that these migrants in 2015 were more likely to consider Greece as a purely as a transit country because of the economic downturn that happened before, and that is there were no more economic opportunities in Greece for them, and so they could just pass.
No, that's not true.
No, it's not that.
And I'll tell you why. Because the reality says that these people, the main thing is to come out from their country, regardless, anywhere. They could go anywhere. Mm-hmm. They were not, the level of the people that they were coming until 2014, let's say, were a lot higher. So they were looking for better money, better jobs.
Okay.
After that, it was anything. So that's why when they were coming, I'll give you an example because I was here at that time and I was very fortunate because I had all this experience from the emergency posts that I have served with IOM during many wars in Europe, etc. So I knew what to do in emergency situations. I remember in 2013, just to give you this number, 2012, 2013, we had 10,000 people coming in Greece in a year. In 2014, we had 10,000 people per day. I don't think anywhere in the world, everywhere in history of the world, there were so many people coming on a daily basis.
So the magnitude of the inflow was such that in any case, Greece would be overwhelmed as a country, and most of the flows would have to transit elsewhere.
The thing is that
independently of the economic situation in Greece.
I'll tell you why they were coming in Greece first of all, and not somewhere else. They tried to go to Italy, and they were going to Italy from Libya, but it was more dangerous, more expensive, and very difficult. Now, from Greece, from Turkey, if you see the map, it's very close. You can go even with a child boat, with inflated boat. So, and that's what they were using. So it was cheaper, easier, and especially when there were so many numbers coming. As I said, 10,000 people a day. Picture that. Lesbos Island, Limnos, and all these islands that they were really accepting all these inflows, because I was there. I was there, literally, seeing the people coming. What to do? To register them? No way. To screen them? No way. How can you do that? 10,000 people, because the 10,000 came today and 10,000 will come tomorrow again. So there was a mess. And that's why there was a lot of, because the European Commission helped a lot. They, at least money-wise, because Greece was first with economic crisis, and second with all these huge numbers, there's no way that they can tolerate with this situation. I mean, thousands and thousands of people, almost 1 million people came at that time. And I was very heavily involved in that. Actually, I was awarded with a medal from the Greek government because of the services during that period.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I got it last year. Not at that time, but I mean after that.
Okay.
And before becoming a minister. And being a minister has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
It's a different thing. So what we really did finally, first of all, what they were doing, it was also Germany at that time said, okay, let them go and we will accept them and all these things. I mean, Chancellor Merkel said a lot.
At the end of August 2015.
Exactly. So the government here was very, because, a government that's very aggressive, left-wing government. So for them, yes, right. Then they didn't want to stop them. So everybody was coming through Greece. Easier, cheaper, and nobody would stop them. But I warned them. I said, if you, as a chief of mission of IOM at that time, if you let them do that for a long time, then you will see the problems in Europe. And so the other countries stopped across the borders completely. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't allow anyone from Greece to get in. And I'm talking not European countries, the Balkan countries.
So you advised the Greek government in
that
2015
they have to regulate a little bit,
to be more strict.
Yes, because anyway they couldn't be otherwise. Of course, the solution came with when they made this common declaration with Turkey, because it was definitely 100% on the hands of Turkey to stop them from coming to Europe. So after this declaration, the numbers dropped. But still, you had bunch of people here that should register, should be screened, who is a refugee, who is not a refugee, where to find them, etc., etc. They were stuck in this after that because they couldn't go to Europe anymore. And then it was another big caseload that the Greek government had to, not only the government, but all of us, all the community that was trying to help. And they were starting building the reception centers, which were centers that there were people were going there. They were staying there until their asylum process would be processed. So they started having the centers, and very difficult because to build a reception center is not an easy thing to do. So actually, the Commission, European Commission, appointed, let's say, IOM and UNHCR to be the leader agencies and manage the situation in Greece together with the Greek government. And that's how it was done.
All right, this is a good opportunity to move to our next point, which is that is now you have drawn a complete picture of the evolution of migration flows from the late 80s to the post 2015 period.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, what was exactly the role of IOM during this period, ending with what you were about to say?
As I said, you mean in the emergency, in the crisis, or before that?
At the beginning of the discussion, you were saying IOM is different from UNHCR because UNHCR is only focused on refugees.
UNHCR was dealing only with that's the mandate of UNHCR. Actually, it's not that they.
What was the role of IOM in Greece during your time there?
IOM was assisting.
And how was it funded?
I'll tell you. First of all, during the transit era, it was funded by the governments that they were accepting the receiving countries, let's say.
Okay.
So there were programs. Whoever was prepared to go to US, to Canada, to Australia, to New Zealand, they was funded by programs by these countries. Then, after this program closed, the funding mainly came from the European Commission and the Greek government. The Greek government as a co-funding for the voluntary returns, for example. Because we had the voluntary returns, the people that they were here, actually that's a program that I introduced to Greece, me personally, I mean. And actually, together with the ministry, we wrote that down, the program. Actually, that was giving motives to the stranded migrants here to go back to their countries. I'm not talking about refugees, migrants, undocumented migrants. That there was no jobs, there was no, as we said, because of the financial crisis, and they were stranded here. They didn't even have money to go back home. Even if they wanted to go back home, they didn't have the money. So what we were doing, we're assisting them, not only to buy the ticket, not only to get the documents, working with the respective embassy and consulate, but also to give them also some funding, some money to start a new life back home. Because in reality, they would never leave home if they had a chance to get a job there. And in the meantime, then we introduce another aspect, which is also very, for me, the essence of the return program, which is reintegration. That means we're helping them to get a job
in their country of origin.
Country of origin, right?
So that the IOM,
I'm always in the country of origin.
Yeah. So IOM had a comparative advantage to achieve that because of its global network of agencies. So you will be in touch of the IOM branch in the country of origin to repatriate those people and to help them.
And to assist them there.
Okay.
That means IOM Islamabad and IOM Karachi, for example, let's take Pakistan, for example, was working with us for the programs. You know, IOM Tbilisi and IOM whatever. The good thing about IOM was that our network was the biggest network of the international organizations. I think there was a time that we had more, literally in every country in the world, more than UNDP or whatever. I mean, it was really big. And that gave us an opportunity for two things. First of all, to do these joint programs. And second, to know the facts And tell you one thing that you didn't ask me, but it's very important. We were very heavily involved in human trafficking. I mean, they counteracted human trafficking. And we knew the numbers. When we wanted to see what is going on in the world, for me it was easy. I was asking my colleagues in Eritrea or in Addis Ababa or wherever to tell me what's going on there, or in Saudi Arabia. What is the trafficking there? What is the target group? How is done? How many arrests? So we had the whole, and it became so, especially for the human trafficking, it became so big in IOM that we even had daily information. Not only that, but also deaths. We were the only organization that we had who, of course, after we know what's the real numbers from our respective offices. How many people lost their lives in Mediterranean, in the North Sea or whatever, migrants, I mean. And that way we knew every time we had a map and we knew how many people lost their lives. Doesn't matter, trafficking or trafficking, whatever. So that was one of the main factors that IOM was able to assist.
Voluntary return programs, thanks to the IOM's global network of agencies. And any other things in IOM work?
As I said, human trafficking.
So
the fight of human trafficking.
Okay, so you were in touch with
we
police?
Were the leading agency in Greece and almost all over the world of what to do with we had a lot
you
of
were in touch with Interpol, for instance, against?
Yes, with everybody. Interpol, Europol, of course the Greek police here.
So you were kind of intelligence agency about...
Not intelligence, but we were trying to find the victims to assist them. For us, the biggest thing is to assist the victims, not to find the traffickers. This is not our job. So for us, the victims' assistance, to help them legally, we were in cooperation with a lot of NGOs that they were specialized in a special thing, legal shelters, whatever. So that's what we're doing. And actually, I was participated in when we drafted the law of counter trafficking in Greece. I was member of the team that we wrote the law, and also member of the counter trafficking team of the Ministry of Police, Citizen Protection Ministry, and being there with the policemen and the judges and the prosecutors and all the other colleagues, we were trying to fight trafficking.
So you were trying to help the victim, and you were also sharing some relevant information with agencies like Interpol.
Not about the trafficking, because we didn't know about trafficking with police. Information about the victims, and the victims concerning on, for example, many times the person who was exploiting the victim was Greek. A guy that had the cabaret or had the club or whatever.
Okay.
So police the state was against him. So we're trying to assist the victim with a lawyer, because these guys, they had a lot of money. They were getting, this big star TV lawyers. The case. There's people that they go to the police, to the TV all the time, and they have all these big criminals as clientele, and and we had to, unfortunately, because we didn't have the money, to use mainly volunteers as lawyers.
So you mentioned that people were at cabaret, you were saying. Here, I understand these are not human traffickers, these are employers of migrants, correct? Or...
No, I was talking about the human traffickers. The employers, now let's say, trafficking has a lot of faces.
Okay.
I mean, there's sex trafficking, which actually was referring to that.
Okay.
And then there's labor trafficking, which is another. Yes. But the thing with the labor trafficking is very complicated in a sense that many migrants prefer to work in the black market as long as they have a job. So of course they are having they'll be taking advantage on exploiting from the employers, let's say, because they pay them very few. Sometimes they don't pay them at all, and of course they cannot report them to the police because they're illegal, and it's very complicated. So we have to make sure that these people are really exploiting them, not only in a sense of not giving them the right amount of money, but also we found, for example, some years ago, people that they were insane working. This is trafficking 100%. I mean, they were slaves. They were giving the money to the trafficker, not to the guys, to the people, to the workers. So this is another big.
Okay, that's interesting. So,
but it's a completely different chapter.
Yeah, no, but let's move on to this subject of undocumented labor.
Yes.
So you, I understand there is in the Greek economy a big demand for undocumented workers. That many undocumented workers find work because they are paid more cheaply, they don't pay social security contributions. Could you elaborate on that? And you mentioned also some people who were like slaves and the money was going to traffickers.
This is a very specific subject.
Yes.
But because the majority are not like that. The majority are exactly as you said, they're in the black market, so they are not registered, they don't have legal papers, etc., etc. I think the best, because one of your questions was, yes, we know that there's a lot of shortages in the labor market. Why you make it strict to the laws and you expel the people, whatever, right? That's one of your questions. Because in reality, as I said before, we need management. The good management is the receiving country should have legal programs so they wouldn't have to use the smugglers and the traffickers and working illegally and with no papers. So if you do have a legal, I mean, let's say I'm a Pakistani or a Bangladeshi and I want to come to Greece to work, all right? There should be a program to go to the consulate, the Greek consulate, apply, to have a point system to tell you, yes, I'm this, I know this is my trade, I can help with that part of, and then the receiving country, Greece, based on the needs of the market, meaning what is the need of it? I need people for the tourist business, for example. I need people for the agriculture. Okay, based on that, to examine the applications and then have a contract with the future employer. So then, what is your benefits? You know who is the guy. He's coming legally. You know he has a contract, so you know that he's in this place and he works there. He pays his taxes, he pays his social security, and everybody is happy. This is the real, and this is what Greece. You know, when I was a minister, unfortunately, I was a healthcare minister. I was only for during the double elections that they had here. That's why I was called by the government, actually by the president of the republic, to fill this because of the.
To become caretaker minister of migration.
Yes, because I'm not a politician, but I know
a few things.
The technocrat, let's say. So they knew what I would. That's why from day one, I knew what to do in the ministry, and I tried to put a program in the few days that I have that my successor will find the politician, and to know that you know what, this is what we have to do. We have to have agreements with states, and we'll say like a quota. Let's say a quota. What we need, okay. Who wants to come? Pakistanis, Indians, Chinese, whoever, it doesn't matter. Because as IOM, we did that. For example, I remember a few years ago, Germany wanted IT specialists. So what they did, they say, we don't know from where you are. As long as you have the knowledge that we need, we'll give you a green card. And that's what they did. And they got a lot of people from Korea, from India, from Pakistan, whatever. And they took them because they needed to fill up the, all these places are there. And that's what Greece has to do. So now what they said, the minister that is today in the Ministry of Migration, decided to have this new program. I guess it's the whole government's program to, let's say, finish up with the undocumented migrants with their own. I don't know how they will do it, but because the difficulty is how you return them back. You want to return them, okay? How you do it? That's why I introduced the voluntary return, because during the voluntary return, everybody cooperates. But if you have deportations, nobody is going to work with you. They're not going to give you. I mean, they don't say where they're from. So, you think they're from Pakistan. You go to the Pakistani embassy, they will never give the papers. But if they decide they voluntarily to come back, no problem. You get the papers immediately.
I see. And so you mentioned a regime in which migrants would go to the consulate, declare themselves, declare their skills, and on the other hand, the employers will do the same, and government agency will connect the two,
Yes.
and we would have organized migration flows.
Yes.
And it doesn't take place like this. So why does this approach fail, for instance, in Greece? We mentioned already the emigration flows, that is, a lot of people want to leave Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on. On the Greek side, why doesn't it work like that? Why do employers hire irregular migrants? Why do they not play by the rules of the system you have mentioned?
Because there's no system right now. I mean, the system is proposed, but it's not yet doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not voted.
Okay.
It's not voted yet. I mean, it's a proposal that IOM is doing in many countries of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And but we have to have the employers, of course, the employers would rather not to pay. Let's face it. They prefer black market because they don't pay all these taxes and social security, etc. But now that there are a lot of needs and they need people to find, and they don't find people to work, especially in the agriculture and tourist business. I mean, when you have 1 million tourists here, you need people to work. And how many Greeks you can find? Difficult. It's a difficult work also. So now they understand. So I'm sure that now the time is right for them to agree that if there is a program, they will participate and they will assist. Because then the idea is that it's not the state that will pay for the expenses of the employee, but the employer. You want to bring him from Pakistan to help you in the restaurant, pay for him, you guarantee for him, you take him. He gets the visa. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I have heard of a similar program between Greece and Egypt, in which there was a program to fill vacancies in the Greek agriculture.
Mainly in the fishing business.
And you had the Egyptian workforce, and they had it was just a few years ago, and they had an agreement for 20,000 seasonal workers. And when the agreement was finalized and they were ready to match the job search, the job offers and demand, it turned out that there was very little appetite for the program among the employers. And quite the contrary, the employers kept hiring people irregularly.
Because they still could find people undocumented migrants. But if you don't have an undocumented, or enough undocumented migrants, and that's why I think the government decided to be strict with this caseload, is then you will be forced to do legal way. Listen, in Greece, black market was also for Greeks, not only for foreigners. Because, as I said, the employers don't want to pay the rest of the... But the more
social security contribution,
exactly, all these things.
All taxes.
So the stricter the system gets, the less people do it anymore, because there are a lot of penalties and all for the Greek side. And I think for the foreigners, but for the foreigners it's difficult to find, because usually I remember when I was talking with the Ministry of Labor once, when they do some kind of checkings around and so on. In the Chinese shops, for example, they have one permit, but they cannot really tell if the person is really the one there, so they can use the same permit for 200 people. I don't know. You know how difficult it is which is true. I mean, I know it's not nice to say that, but it's true. It's very difficult. So the controllers there, they have
So they will use one work permit for potentially many workers.
exactly. Maybe
And here
hundreds.
you have a problem of control and enforcement with employers.
Yes, first of all, I think you need more controls, more. You need people more experienced. The same thing we did with the refugees. I mean, anybody who's coming here say I'm a refugee. Okay, where are you from? From Palestine, I don't know, from Syria, and they were from Pakistan. But if you get someone with a translator there, first of all the language, and then the geography, you can easily tell if they're saying the truth or not. Same thing they have to do with the migrants. But you need skilled people, specialized people. It's not easy to find.
I see. So I understand that in your job at IOM, so you were involved in voluntary return programs, but you had a front row seat on Greek migration policies. And as you speak, you had developed many ideas um, on the way Greek immigration policy should look like.
Right.
So, and then you became Minister for Migration during an interim period in 2023.
A very difficult period.
A very difficult period. So, what were the challenges at that moment, and what did you try to do, even though it was a very short period?
I'll tell you, for me it was easy because I knew the programs. But already I was in the other side when I was in the past. So I came to the other side, so I knew what is more, let's say, important to do. What are the priorities? And that's what I did, both on migration and asylum. Then in my time, though it was a very short period, I had to go to Luxembourg for the Ministry Council because that we voted the migration law after 10 years. I don't know, it was since 2016 and it was 2023 when we finally voted. And it was a difficult thing to do because not everybody agreed from the member states. Then I had the unfortunate incident in the sea.
Pylos.
Pylos, right? I was the minister at that time. And
750 dead in the sea.
And also I had all this, the new influxes from Evros that was coming from the river.
Still.
So all these things, it was in the short period that I was a minister. I mean, I had to face more problems from the previous minister that was 3 years there in the same position, more things to do. But it was okay. It was a nice exercise for me. It was very interesting. I tried to, and as I said, I was lucky to that I had the experience of the emergency situations with IOM while I was around Balkans and Caucasus and Africa, etc. It was very, very good lesson. So it was a difficult period, but what I did as a minister, I said that, I tried to prioritize I knew the needs, I knew what we really need, a new system of registration for asylum, which to be faster, for example, one thing. Another, which we did during my term. Also, I went around all the reception centers to make sure that there are enough places in case of new influxes. Again, through the other colleague ministers at that period, we made with the Turkish government some kind of memorandum of understanding, so to stop the influxes from the Evros here, not from the islands, but from the Evros.
In June 2023.
That's everything happened at that time, yes. So it was my luck that I had to do that. But I was lucky in a sense that it was a very interesting period. And of course, as I said again, unfortunately, but this thing, with the shipwreck in Pylos, it was something that we have seen. I have seen that during my term in IOM many times. It was not the first time that we see such a kind of a thing. We knew that the smugglers are getting the money and then they sink the ship themselves. It's not that the ship was old. It was old, but it sank because they sunk it.
You think it was a criminal?
No, I spoke with the survivors.
They deliberately killed them.
Yes.
Why?
Because they didn't want to. First of all, the money, they have gotten the money, but they didn't want someone to speak with the authorities when and if they go to Italy or to Greece or wherever they will be, they will go.
And why did it happen in that case and not in other cases?
It happened in many cases.
Yeah, but
we never find out.
Yeah, but some people manage to pass. Why do certain smugglers lead the people until the end and others?
It depends.
You suggest
it depends on the
sink their
situation,
ships.
but I guess it has to do also with the period of time. It has to do also with what are the situation in the receiving country at that time. It has a lot of factors, but in reality, we used to say that Mediterranean Sea is a huge cemetery, because in reality nobody knows how many people were drowned in that in the sea all these years, and we never found out. In Pylos, it was the Greek choppers or whatever who found them. In other situations, saw the wreck, but in other situations they don't find them. It's not so easy. Mediterranean is a very huge sea. It's not easy to. It's like an ocean. It's not easy to find. And don't forget that there's also other, not only in the Mediterranean, but also if you get the global map, you have a lot of cases like that, like Pylos, in other seas also, in the Atlantic or the Pacific or whatever, because people are coming. Funny thing is, if you see the map and you see what are the movements of people in the world, the big influxes are not in Europe. The big influxes are from South America to North America. First of all, number one is in Africa, within Africa, east, west. Mainly, people are moving. This is the main.
From east to west of Africa?
Of Africa, based on the numbers. Within Africa, you have the biggest movement. Then you have America, from south to north. Then you have former Soviet countries, from the other countries to Russia mainly, a lot of movements. And then you have Europe. There's also a big influx now, not now, because the Australians, they became very strict from Southeast Asia to Australia. Also a lot of movements. And a lot of shipwrecks there also. So you see, we're focused in Europe, but doesn't mean Europe is the main focus in migration. That's why migration is a world thing. It's not a European thing. Definitely it's not Greek, and definitely not European. It's world. And that's why the world has to sit down, countries of origin, receiving countries, transit countries, everybody has to go in and start talking and see how they can deal with that. And again, take the management from the hands of the traffickers and the smuggler. That's the most important thing. States should do that. I always was saying that when I was in IOM. I said that when I was in European Union. Said that when I was in UN. We have to do that. That's the only solution.
And do you think the role of smugglers has gone bigger over the years?
Yes.
Or it was already very important when you started?
It was getting bigger by the day.
By the day.
By the day. Both for trafficking and smuggling.
I see. All right.
Why? Because there's a lot of money involved.
Okay.
A lot of money. Unfortunately, smuggling people has more money than weapons and drugs.
Okay.
And it's less dangerous.
I see.
If they catch you. This is also something that the country should get seriously.
So, but I come back to the previous question because I think it was important. You say some smugglers that deliberately sink the ships.
Yes.
Why do they? In which circumstances do they do it? If they don't do it systematically,
I'll tell you, it depends. They don't do it systematically, but it depends on the situation.
Why do they do it in some cases?
If they find if
there is a risk.
If there is a risk, they sink it. If there is that somebody will arrest the ship, some patrol, whatever, Coast Guard, then they prefer to sink the ship than. And usually, what they do, they put as in charge of the ship usually minor, under 18. So again, it would be easier for, in case of the authorities arrest them. That's also another factor that I discovered during the discussions that they have with survivors.
All right. Okay, so it was a very dense and rich interview. So, as a final note, what most shaped your understanding of migration in your across your career? Was it a special event or something that really shaped the way you view migration today?
It's both. I mean, it's everything, because special events also, don't forget, as I said, I experienced also the war in Yugoslavia, in the Caucasus, North Caucasus, Chechnya, uh, in Kosovo. So this is also a very, shocking experience. And also 2015 with the Greek islands, big influx. It was very shocking. I mean, I've seen so many, babies drowned, and unbelievable images. And also the everyday, the daily work, because the daily work, you see how people, manage, they try to survive. I'm talking about the undocumented migrants. There's no really protection for them. Nothing. And you know what's the worst? They don't exist.
Mhm.
Because they don't have documents, they don't exist. If somebody dies, nobody will search for them, and nobody will know. And this is the worst.
I see. Okay, so Mr. Esdras, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
I'm happy that I help you